Every day when I wake up in the morning, I see the sky and I think about the things that you've made. All the beauty and your glory is showing, yeah. It never bores me to look at the ocean. The waves are crashing, the water spraying up in my face. I look above and all the seagulls are soaring, yeah. We've got to overcome the darkness, so we don't get caught in the middle, between the hopeful and the heartless. So, hello, good day, good morning, I just can't stop smiling, because today is a brand new day, and all the darkness and the pain is just fading behind me. Oh Lord, what a beautiful day. All the planets surround me, the way they orbit just boggles my mind, the way the sun keeps on shining, yeah. Got to overcome the darkness, so we don't get caught in the middle, between the hopeful and the heartless. So, hello, good day, good morning, I just can't stop smiling, because today is a brand new day, and all the darkness and the pain is just fading behind me. Oh Lord, what a beautiful day. There's nothing to fear, it'll be okay. It's the day that the Lord has made. It's the day that the Lord has made. There's nothing to fear, it'll be okay. It'll be okay. It's the day that the Lord has made. That the Lord has it's made. The day that the Lord has made. That the Lord has made. So, hello, good day, good morning, I just can't stop smiling, because today is a brand new day, and all the darkness and the pain is just fading behind me. Oh Lord, what a beautiful day.
Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Live with Doug. We are thinking through God's Word together. We're in Romans chapter 12. It's great to have you all along. Good morning, Lewis. Hey, Megan. Edgar, welcome. Caitlin, good to see you. Curtis on the Facebook. Excellent. Glad that you are here. So we're in that time of year, Christmas time, and we sing songs about peace. Peace on earth and goodwill toward men. Right? Because Jesus brought peace. Jesus is the Prince of Peace. And today we are going to see the Apostle Paul call us as followers of Jesus to be peaceable, peacemaking, peaceful people as well. And I don't know about you, but my toes are a little sore from everything we've been talking about here in chapter 12. And I am preparing to crush all of our toes, step on all of our toes today. So glad you're with us. Let's all be humble and do some significant self-evaluation here to see where we are. Hey, Dale, good to have you with us as well. By the way, programming note, tomorrow we're done with Fridays with the fellas, in case you missed that announcement. And now we're going to do something else on Fridays. Everyone is welcome. We're going to talk about a variety of things. So come back tomorrow and jump in on that. All right. So Romans 12, 17 and 18 say this: giving back to no one evil for evil. Giving back to how many? No one. Evil for evil. Providing right things before all men, if possible, so far as in you, with all men being in peace. All right, so basically there are three admonitions here. The first one is you don't repay evil for evil. The second one is providing, and again, this literal translation is very literal. It's the idea of seeing beforehand, caring for. If you think of providence as seeing and caring for something ahead of time, that's kind of the idea here. So you're being aware of what is right and doing it, and what is right before all men. We'll come back and look at that a little bit more. And then, as far as it's possible with you, be at peace. So this is hard. This is not hard to understand, is it? This is very simple. Someone does evil to you. Someone seeks to injure you, harm you, frustrate you. They don't do the things the way you want them done, and their intent, their motive seems to be against you. You are not allowed to respond in kind. Now just think about that for a minute. Would those closest to you, say if you're living with others, your roommates, your family, if you're married, your spouse, would they say that you're the kind of person who gives it back when you feel maligned and mistreated, or someone who doesn't do that? In fact, I challenge you, if you're serious about getting this right, ask them. Do you have the courage to do that? Do you have enough desire for the renewed mind, that is that transformation that comes from thinking differently from the world? Do you have enough zeal for that you are willing to ask someone who would know? Spouse, roommate, child, parent, somebody close, coworker, maybe, depending on your situation. Most of us maybe put on the better front in front of those, but especially someone in your household. Are you willing to ask them whether they perceive you as the kind of person who responds in kind when you feel mistreated? Curtis says only if they're Eagles fans. Yeah, well, sports is a different category, right? That probably doesn't count. Paul didn't know anything about NFL when he wrote this. But seriously, how humbling would that be for some of us? And would you have someone afraid to give you an honest answer for fear that you're going to respond that way, respond poorly? Dale says, I find it a lot of people hesitant to give sincere criticism unless I give some first, and they find words quite easily. Yeah, that's true. We don't want to offend. We don't want to make somebody mad. I don't know. You're right. But I suppose in the right setting, if you convince them that you're not going to get mad, I suspect there are people who would respond. But even if you can't find that person, just your own conscience before the Lord, right? Maybe look at some of your texts, emails, think back to things that you've said that you were kind of worked up about when you said them. Does it fit in the category of returning evil for evil? Paul says the renewed mind, the transformed mind doesn't do that. And it makes sense, right? Because we are Christians. And our Lord is the model. How unbelievable is it to think of Jesus hanging on the cross, nails in his hand and feet, And he says, Father, forgive them. They don't know what they're doing. Now, we know that story. But when you stop and ponder, it is, I can't imagine. This isn't after the fact, after he's recovered. This is while he's hanging on the cross. And he asks for the forgiveness of those who did this. I think he's talking about the Romans, the soldiers there. It's crazy. Talk about not repaying evil for evil. Think about what he did with Peter. Peter says, I'm going to die for you, Lord. I would give my life. I'm not going to let you die. And then as soon as trouble comes, Peter denies him 3 times, knowing that it's very likely that Jesus will be found guilty and punished. But to save his own skin, his own reputation, he denies even knowing Jesus. This is a guy who claimed to be his friend, who claimed to love him to the degree that he would die for him. Jesus doesn't repay that evil for evil. After it's all said and done, he rises from the dead. He sees Peter, says, Peter, do you love me? Yes. Then I've got work for you to do. Pretty amazing example for us to follow. And then we think about how we've been treated and our desire to respond in kind and think, how petty are we? Pretty petty. But you can see why this is a transformation, right? It's a non-conforming attitude, non-conforming with the world, because the world is a tit-for-tat environment. It's paybacks are expected. It's what you do. And Paul says, don't be like that. Mike says, do you feel this relates to self-defense, defense of others? I don't. It's a good question. And I think one of the things that we have to learn to be good at as Christians is nuanced thinking. I alluded to this yesterday as well. You know, this is a list of admonitions, and Paul certainly is not addressing every situation everywhere. It's not an exhaustive discussion of how to respond. He's going to go on, and we'll see this next week. He's going to talk about vengeance, and desiring vengeance is not sin, as we will see. And Jesus did bring vengeance upon the Jews who were responsible for his execution. So I don't think it includes every aspect of the discussion, including self-defense and defense of others. So, and since Paul's not dealing with that here, I'm not going to deal with it right now either. So great question, but it is worth all of our pondering, returning evil for evil. I think maybe the difference here between this and self-defense is in the moment, right? You're being attacked physically, and defending yourself is not the same thing as returning evil for evil. That would be someone attacks you, you somehow escape, and now you start plotting your revenge, right? How can I get them back? That kind of thing. Someone says something about you that you don't like, maybe to others, and then you go see how you can get them back for it, that kind of thing. Then he says, providing right things before all men. Now that, again, is not the way it's normally translated, but I like to throw some different words at us just to get us to think. But the idea is you are caring for the things that are right before all men, doing what is right, giving thought to. And there is a little bit of ambiguity here. The question is, does he mean providing right things, caring for the right things while you're in the presence of all men, or the things that are considered to be right before all men? And maybe there's not a huge difference there. Certainly, he would not be advocating for hypocrisy, where you put on the show and put on your righteous acts before men, and then in private do whatever. But I think he's talking about being concerned about the things that all men approve of. Now, obviously not sin. Again, this goes back to some nuanced thinking, right? Obviously, if it's sin, then no. You never want to appease men. Christians get in all kinds of trouble because we appease men. But there is just sort of generally accepted principles, behaviors that are good, that are right, and we should care about those things. I think of HOAs. I'm not a fan of HOAs. I'm thankful to live in a subdivision that we don't have those. And I think a case can be made that, to get rid of them all. But if you signed an HOA when you moved into your neighborhood, you should do what you agreed to. And even if you're not part of an HOA, it's generally the right thing to do to keep your yard looking nice. Right? It helps everyone else's perceived property value. It's just nicer to look at that. Cut your grass, pull the weeds. Don't let your house be the one on the block that drags every other house down. And that may be a minor point, but society's views of things do matter. We're not just in this life for ourselves. And the renewed mind says, yeah, I'm going to conform. Shouldn't use that word because he said don't be conformed. I'm going to follow the common expectations to a reasonable degree. Right? The point is, you're a peacemaker. You're not trying to be so self-centered that you don't care what anybody else thinks. We are people who live in communities, not just the community of faith, but in communities. We live among people. Don't go out of your way to be chaotic and disruptive. And then he kind of wraps it up here, verse 18, if possible, so far as in you, or from you, as far as you are able, be at peace with all men. Are there people right now that you are not at peace with, or they would say they are not at peace with you? Have you done what you can to be at peace with them? This is hard. This is really hard. It takes a lot of self-control, prayer, humility. You have to work for this, strive for this. For most of us, this does not come easily. I was, as you know, a professional pastor, as I like to say, for 25 years. And you can imagine, I've been accused of all kinds of things. I've had slander and lies and, betrayal by even some very close friends. You would almost laugh. Well, I can look back now and laugh at some of the things that people have said about me over the years. Usually, they leave first and then tell others, but sometimes it's, during the midst of everything. And man, I'm a fighter by nature. I want to go toe to toe. I want to get I want my voice to be heard, right? I want to defend myself. And it was a hard lesson to learn, to not respond that way. And I didn't always do it right. But I would work at it. And, there were times when people would say things about me that were just outlandish and crazy. And I have stood before the congregation and admitted to things that I didn't really do. Maybe admitted to is not quite the right word, but I'd taken on myself and not tried to vindicate myself about things that I didn't actually do because I was hoping for peace. I was hoping to get to a place where we could put this behind us and move on. And it's hard to do. Again, I didn't always do it well, but I can think of some occasions where I look at this verse and I think, okay, before the Lord, I think I accomplished the mission. I think I did as much as I could do to be at peace. And it didn't always work out that way. And I can't make someone else want to be reconciled. But if I worked as hard as I could to bring peace, and again, even taking some blame for things that I didn't do, I don't know what else I could have done. And again, there are other occasions. I mean, thinking of one or two in particular. There are other occasions that, peace was not the top of my concern. Righteousness and vindication and making sure everybody understood the truth from my perspective. Those were higher on the list. This is hard, but again, Jesus is the model. Nobody has accused you of things like they accused Jesus of. Right? They accuse him of being a liar and a fraud, denying everything about him. They hired people. They brought people in with false accusations, hurling these accusations at him, hoping to get something that would justify them killing him. Now I've been mistreated and you've been mistreated, but no one's killed me. No one's attempted to kill me that I know of. And yet Jesus is the Prince of Peace. He worked for peace. He continued to talk to the people and he didn't just lay down. He didn't deny what is true, but he worked for peace. That's the example. It's hard. Edgar says, hardest lesson for me yet. Part of me just thinking about it upsets me. Yeah, it should upset us when we know we're not like Jesus in this. Well, what do we do about it? Well, if there are people that you know that you have repaid evil for evil, if there are situations that you know you have not worked for peace, then go make it right. Even now. Humble yourself and go ask forgiveness. Strive for peace. Again, you can't force someone else to be at peace with you. You can only control yourself, but that's why he says, as far as it's possible with you, be at peace with all men. Caitlin says, very challenging. A woman in my church punched me for saving 2 seats. Like, physically punched you? She never apologized, and I decided to move on. She continued to be hostile with her being gone for at least 6 months. Whoa. Wow. Yeah, well, the admonition obviously is you don't get to punch back, which is so hard. Again, we have to have nuance here. We are to stand for truth. Well, I'm not going to go down all the qualifications. I think you guys are smart. You get it. You can't punch back. And when she comes back, maybe there's a way to reach out and kindness and see if you can smooth things over. Again, we can't force others to be at peace, but we got to do our part. Sometimes that means you avoid. Right? Sometimes it's just staying out of harm's way, staying out of the path of someone that is hostile. Other times it's going and saying the hard thing. Sometimes it's taking the blame for something you didn't do. And that's not weakness. It can be, right? We can be just so weak that we let people walk all over us and others. That's not the point. That's not weakness. That's actually selfishness. But when you make the choice to avoid Caitlin just said you avoid confrontation. Again, sometimes that's selfish, because sometimes confrontation needs to take place, or again, the scripture speaks of that as well. But sometimes avoiding confrontation is the right thing to do, and it actually is brave, courageous, humble, those things. And this is why we can't judge others, because we don't know all the circumstances and all that's going on in everybody's mind. But anyway, the admonition is here, and it's hard, not just for you, Caitlin and Edgar, for all of us. But remember what Jesus taught. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will what? Do you know how that finishes? Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called sons of God. Remember, in the Bible, a son speaks more to behavior than it does to genetics. So even you women can be called sons of God, because you will be acting like God if you're a peacemaker. Because the Son of God is the ultimate peacemaker, even giving his life so that we could have peace with God. And we will be like him if we are willing to make peace and not return evil for evil, and striving to do what is right in the eyes of all men. Not, again, sinfully, but generally speaking, playing by their rules if it means keeping peace. It's hard, but it's what a transformed, renewed mind does. So I pray for all of us that the Lord will give us the grace to do some self-reflection and do what we need to do. All right, we're going to wrap it up there. Tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen, come back. Everybody, Fridays with the fellas is over. We're going to do another kind of thing on Fridays. We'll talk about a variety of topics, politics, and whatever. Kind of whatever's on my mind, and then whatever's on your mind. So we will see you tomorrow. Have a great Thursday. God bless.